Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for July 24th. July 24th is the 205th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 206th in leap years, with 160 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is yeoman. Usually used as a noun, yeoman is also occasionally used as an adjective. As a noun, a yeoman was a member of a class of small freeholders who cultivated their own land and were typically considered part of the lower gentry in England. In this case, a yeoman's status was above that of a peasant but below that of a knight, a rank between that of a page and a squire. Yeoman farmers in North America served as citizen soldiers during the American Revolutionary War. In the Navy, a yeoman is a petty officer who performs clerical duties. This yeoman might be responsible for maintaining the ship's logs and managing paperwork, or is in charge of the ship's stores of various materials. In everyday life, a worker who is diligent and dependable, as in she's a yeoman in the office, always reliable and hardworking. A yeoman might also be someone who performs great and laborious services. As an adjective, yeoman means of, relating to, or being a yeoman, as in a yeoman farmer, or of yeoman rank, consisting of yeoman, like the yeoman class, characteristic of, or in the manner of a yeoman, like someone of yeoman appearance, or my favorite, characterized by laborious effort and great usefulness, as in he gave yeoman help today, or they did yeoman service. The word yeoman comes to us from Middle English, and while some sources say its origin is uncertain for sure, they nearly all mention that it may have evolved from a term like young man, yeoman. First known use of the term yeoman as a noun is in the 1300s and as an adjective in the 1600s, yeoman. And with that, on July 24, 1866, Tennessee became the first U.S. state to be readmitted to Congress following the war between the states, more commonly referred to as the Civil War. William Sidney Porter was an American writer. Writing under the pen name of O. Henry, he's best known for his short stories, notable for their surprise endings like The Gift of the Magi or The Ransom of Red Chief. He also wrote poetry, nonfiction, and novels. Born and raised in South Carolina, he moved to Texas when he was about 19 or 20, where he worked on a ranch for a while, then moved to Austin, where he met and married his first wife. He worked at various jobs, such as the General Land Office, drawing maps, and at a bank as a teller and bookkeeper, writing and sending off stories along the way. Unfortunately, the bank found irregularities in his accounting and fired him. A federal audit followed, and he was arrested for embezzlement. The day before his trial was to begin, he absconded to Honduras. He wrote Cabbages and Kings while in Honduras, which is where we first see the term that he coined, Banana Republic. His wife, Ethel, back in Austin, was ill with tuberculosis and not doing well. So he returned to Austin and turned himself in. His wife passed in 1897, and he was convicted in 1898, sentenced to 5 years in prison. All along, William Sidney Porter continued writing and selling stories, but now that he was in prison, he used pseudonyms because he was concerned that publishers would not want to buy stories from a jailbird in prison. This is where he came to be known as O. Henry. This brings us to today's item, which is that on July 24, 1901, William Sidney Porter, more commonly known as the writer O. Henry, was released from prison early for good behavior, having served 3 of the 5 years of his sentence. From there, he moved to New York in 1902 to be near his publishers, and over the next few years, he wrote 381 short stories for various magazines. Unfortunately, he was a heavy drinker to the detriment of his health, and he passed away in 1910 at the age of 47 due to cirrhosis of the liver, diabetes, and heart disease, a sad ending to a great writer. He was buried in the Riverside Cemetery in Asheville, North Carolina. The cemetery says that people have been leaving $1.87 in change, the amount of Della's savings at the beginning of the Gift of the Magi, on his grave for decades. What a tribute. The cemetery donates the money to area libraries. William Sidney Porter, better known as O. Henry. This is the birthday of American actress Lynda Carter, born July 24, 1951 in Globe, Arizona. Not only an actress, Ms. Carter is also a singer, beauty pageant title holder, and spokesmodel, and is best known for her role in the 1970s series Wonder Woman. My sisters and I loved that show growing up. Happy birthday, Lynda Carter. Now we have a playlist of episodes for this day in history, as well as a playlist of single subjects called How About That? And Words of the Day, and a playlist called There's a Word for That, and I'll leave links to those playlists for you. Today's song is Indian Reservation, the Lament of the Cherokee Reservation Indian by the Raiders. This song was written by a fellow named John Loudermilk long enough ago that it was first recorded in 1959. At that time, it was released by Marvin Rainwater under the title Paleface Indian. If you've never heard of it, you're not alone, as that version went essentially unnoticed. Another version by a recording artist named Don Farden came out in 1968. That one got to number 20 on the Hot 100 in the U.S. By the way, some of the imagery portrayed in this song is based more on Hollywoodized ideas about Native Americans and may not be entirely accurate, particularly as regards the Cherokee people, but that may be a telling for another day. Returning to today's song, however, Paul Revere and the Raiders, also known simply as the Raiders by this time, released the song in 1970 as Indian Reservation, the Lament of the Cherokee Reservation Indian. This version had sold over 1 million copies by the end of June in 1971 and hit number 1 for the Raiders on July 24, 1971. I remember Paul Revere and the Raiders from the late 60s. They were fairly popular back then, so I was quite surprised to learn that this song was the group's only Hot 100 number 1 hit and their final Hot 100 Top 20 song. Indian Reservation, the Lament of the Cherokee Reservation Indian by the Raiders. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with the link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page called No Really. And you can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.